All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the City Council meeting to order. Today is April 7th, 2025, and up first we have, I don't believe we have a pastor here, so if everyone could please stand with me for a moment of silence. All right, thank you. Councilwoman Aber with the pledge, please.
Please join me with your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All right, so at this time, it looks like we have a little bit of technical difficulty, so I'm going to start doing audible votes.
Yes.
Up first is going to be the approval of the agenda. Do we have any modifications or approval?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. Councilman Braden?
Yeah, Mayor, before we get started, I'd just like to ask, we got a lot on the agenda tonight. Is it possible we can try to follow Robert's rules tonight?
I will do my best. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Got a
Mayor,
motion
we
to...
have an item to add, as I emailed you about, Mr. Fogarty's request.
Can I add that to the agenda then, since I made the motion to approve as is? Where
Yes,
would
it
we
would be
add it?
added to the first item under city manager's reports.
I make that motion to add Mr. Fogarty's to the city manager first.
All right. Got a motion and a second. With that, we'll call the vote. Councilman Schmidt?
Yes.
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 Trammell, yes.
Yes.
All right, ayes have it, 7-0, so moved. Up first is going to be the presentation from Kimley Horn. Awesome. Yeah, you just hit that gray button. There you go. Yep.
All right, good evening. So my name is Lindsay Slaughterback. I'm a transportation planner with Kimley Horn. So we're here tonight just to give you a quick overview of the ECRC's Smart Regions Plan and then talk a little bit about US 98 and Stallman Avenue. I'm joined by my colleague, civil engineer Jared Wall from our Jacksonville office. So he'll go over some of the nitty gritty about the technology improvements and potential updates. So we can go. So the Smart Regions Plan, I know y'all are many of you are pretty involved with the TPO and the Regional Council. The Smart Regions Plan is part of ECRC's 7-layer cake initiative. And so the idea is that they're kind of reimagining the transportation network in the region to promote efficiency and safety throughout. So City of Destin, of course, is included in that. There also is a safety action plan, which feeds into the Smart Regions Plan. So the impetus behind this is just to really promote that efficiency, technology, and safety. And so this is just the vision and purpose. We're really looking to leverage those smart technologies, enhance quality of life for our residents, visitors, and then outline kind of a roadmap for deploying these strategies throughout the region, and again, in the city of Destin. And so several goals. So the Smart Regions Plan looked at safer mobility. So those are vulnerable road users, bicyclists, pedestrians, reducing congestion. I know that's big, especially on US 98. Looking at economic growth and opportunity, resilient infrastructure. So, we get hurricanes quite a lot in this area. So want to look at some of that and make sure our roads are safe from that perspective. And then efficiency when it comes to energy and spending. And so this map shows the annual average daily traffic. And so this is something we looked at in the Smart Regions Plan. And so this map obviously is for the city of Destin specifically. And I'm sure you all don't need a map to know that US 98 is your big problem. Lots of traffic there. That's why it's highlighted in dark red. So that's essentially why we're here today. So something that we looked at pretty specifically in the Smart Region Plan is the bottlenecks throughout the region. And so bottlenecks are really where you're seeing a lot of congestion. I don't think this is a surprise to any of you either, but we like to map things as planners and engineers. So here you can see those yellow dots are where you're seeing a lot of congestion and bottlenecking. So of course, lanes come down, traffic gets kind of clogged through there. And then it's not quite at US 98 installment, but very close, which can cause some of those issues y'all are seeing. And then just to kind of highlight some of the safety piece of this, we did the safety action plan. This segment of 98 that includes Stallman Avenue is number 2 priority for this area, so that would make you all eligible for Safe Streets and Roads for All funding, and the grant program is open until the end of June, so great opportunity there. But you'll see along 98 through Destin and a little bit on the eastern edge of the city limits, there are quite a few intersections that are an issue just based on traffic crashes and then bicyclists and pedestrians. And so I will hand it off to Jared now to talk more specifically about technology improvements.
Yeah, so just really quickly wanted to cover some of the technologies that are identified as part of the Smart Region Plan, with the idea that technologies can be used either to supplement capital projects or even be a stopgap to the more funding-intensive capital projects. It's a lower-cost option to get some benefit out of your existing system. So a few of them here identify bicyclists and pedestrians. There's pedestrian hybrid beacons. That's a way to get pedestrians across a roadway without having to build a full traffic signal. In-pavement lighting improves the visibility of pedestrians. Passive detection and bicycle detection both would provide actuation at a signal or information to the signal of a user that might need to cross there that otherwise wouldn't have the need or ability to provide that. Active traffic management, so if you have staff that's able to monitor and react in real time to traffic incidents, you can then cut down your congestion. So that's through investing in technologies like active traffic management systems, CCTV systems, dynamic message boards, gives staff at a TMC the ability to see what's happening and then respond live with changes in your signal timings. Advanced traveler information system. So this is really just about ways to give information to the users of the roadway. So we all know Waze and Google, Florida 511. It can give you alerts to incidents that are on the roadway. There's also some proprietary apps that can be integrated with traffic signal systems. Nationwide, about 25% of traffic congestion is a result of an incident that happened on a roadway. So if we can reduce the frequency of crashes, we can reduce the frequency or the duration and impact of the congestion that's caused by that. So one of the big ones is a queue warning system. If you have a queue of vehicles up ahead, you have traffic traveling at the speed limit and they come up to the back of the queue, that's where we see a lot of those rear-end crashes that then cause more congestion, which then in turn could lead to more crashes. So upstream systems that can detect the presence of a queue and then provide that information to vehicles that are traveling in that direction. Think about the one coming over the East Pass Bridge. We have a lot of congestion right there, and that could be something that we look at for Stallman. And then data analytics, so investing in tools that are able to provide advanced data information so that the operators of our systems can make decisions not only in real time, but decisions with better information. So that's automated traffic signal performance measures, that's probe-based data, and I'll show an example of something that we pulled here, coming up slide for our location. So US 98 and Stallman Avenue, just a really quick overview of kind of what we've seen at that intersection and then what are some of the technologies we might could look at. In our existing conditions, so this is something we can pull real easy through a program called RIDIS, probe-based data analytics. So it pulls information that from the users of the roadway. We can pick up speeds of the vehicles that are driving on the roadway. This is a snapshot of March 17th through 19th, so it's a Tuesday to Thursday. And this is showing our eastbound and westbound travel times, or actually these are travel speeds that we picked up. And you can see, kind of hard to see on the graph, but on that bottom line, you can see where it really starts to bottom out around 4 p.m. In the westbound direction. Speeds crawl down as low as about 10 miles an hour at the intersection. So we know that we have congestion at that intersection. This slide is showing pretty much the same thing, but really the only thing to focus on is that whole left side of this is the westbound direction, and that middle area, darker means more congested, or darker red is more congested, green is less congested, and it shows us that really throughout a lot of the day we have that issue westbound going through that location. And then we also look at crashes. So in the last 5 years, 112 total crashes in this location, 65% of those were in daytime hours, which seems to be a heavier percentage of nighttime crashes than you typically would see. And the majority of those crashes are rear-end crashes. So when you see rear-end crashes, That could tell us that people are running up into the back of a queue, traffic stop there. Those crashes then proliferate into more congestion. So potential strategies from a technology standpoint. So this is not capital improvements. These are what are some technologies we can leverage. Traffic signal timing is always the low-hanging fruit. That's taking advantage of the existing equipment you already have and making sure it's operating most efficiently. Then we can look at advancing our traffic signal capability. So traffic responsive signals is where we look at these systems that are designed to respond in real time to the demands of the traffic and react to that in real time. So it's very similar to our preset signal timing plans, but it gives us a broader set of applications, can respond in real time, and it can communicate with signals downstream to keep the flow going. So if you get a lot of traffic or you get times where it's 4 p.m. and maybe it's a not nice day like it is today, and maybe we don't have as many pedestrians crossing there, maybe it doesn't need to do something quite as drastic. But if it's a really nice day and you got a lot more pedestrians out, it can react to that and bulk up the signal timing plan. Some additional strategies, there's some of the ones we kind of covered, but for this location specifically, queue warning system. Are we having issues with queues? Our crash patterns seem to suggest we might be. ATS-PM, so that advanced data that tells us exactly what problems are we seeing at the intersection. When are we seeing those problems? We can look back in the past and see what are certain days of the week that it might be worse. That gives us the information we need to know then to make an informed decision about what we need to improve. Monitoring, active monitoring of the system, and being able to have a human go in and actually validate the issue that we're seeing on camera and respond to it in real time. And then traveler information systems.
So I can just wrap things up real quick because we know you guys have a very long agenda tonight, but we just did a quick cursory glance of this intersection specifically, and like I said, there's a longer segment included in the safety action plan, so there are funds out there for this project to do, a deeper dive, a bigger study, potential capital infrastructure project. So, this is very kind of just like quick, eyes on the street. We even drove down there on our way here, took a look, saw pedestrians, so pretty good to kind of get it make sense in our minds. So thank you so much for having us. We're happy to answer any questions. We're always available if you all want to talk after this meeting or another day, but thank you so much.
All right, Councilwoman Aber.
You were saying how there's a lot of traffic that comes up on it when traffic is slowing down. I've noticed that there's been a lot more of the looking at their cell phone and just driving fast, not paying attention, and then just slamming into traffic. Not that it's dead stop, but have you taken any of that into account in your studies?
Yeah, it certainly makes the challenge a lot harder to solve. And what it really does is it tells us that if we have a system where queues are present, we're more likely to see crashes now than we probably would have been before that was common. From the perspective of the engineers, all we can try to do, or not saying all we can try to do, but the most impactful thing we can try to do is figure out what we need to do at that location to reduce the presence of queues and reduce the likelihood that somebody can make a mistake.
Councilman Gao.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a quick question about slide 15 of 19, the existing conditions. It looks like the red is in the passing lane more than not. Do you guys have a plan or any recommendations for keeping dumbasses out of the passing lane? And
This chart right here is kind of difficult to explain. This is one of the exports we get out of that RITIS platform. On the left side of the screen is the westbound direction, and you can see the left to right graph is time of day. So on the left side is the morning, and you see everything's kind of green, and then as we get around that 4 p.m., it starts to get red. And then going up and down on the graph is, I think Benning Road is at the top, and then the East Pass Bridge is kind of in the middle. So that's just showing us in time and space where we're seeing the issues. It doesn't necessarily show us where in the lane or where, it's probe-based data, so it really just knows that you were here and 5 minutes later you were here, so you took this road.
all right, well,
And that's what they pull in.
excluding that data, we all recognize that we do have that issue. What's your recommendation to keep those shitbags out of that passing lane?
I'm sure there's a study we can do, but I don't know the exact issue that you're talking about at the moment.
All right, Councilman Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. We've been trying to get something like this done for several years now, and we still are not making any progress. What is the deployment time on a system from something as basic as an actual human being who's running the control to AI computers. If we started today, when could you get some kind of a system out there for us to try and see what kind of improvement it makes?
Yeah, I don't want to represent or misrepresent any vendors, but there are several vendors in the market that provide what they call solutions. A lot of them are really good. And it's just a matter of procuring equipment, and usually when you've got the equipment procured, the software platform that comes with it, you get with the equipment. I mean, so at that point, in terms of your turnaround, it's really whatever your lead time is going to be on that specific equipment, 6 to 9 months. And then generally low cost. We're talking about things that are in the tens of thousands instead of hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
Exactly what we're looking, but it looks like we're going to miss another year. We'll be on our third year of trying to do something, which is very discouraging, but we certainly need to march in that direction. So I'll be happy to make a motion later at the meeting to go forward with trying to attempt to see how we can make this come to fruition.
Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, I'm more, and I appreciate that, but I'm more concerned about the long term. So the county tells us that they have $3 million in surtax for this project. Is it just the technical assistance, or is that the, planning, PD&Es for underground tunnel, or it doesn't really matter, or you don't know?
Well, I think, so that's up to you, but because you spoke with Scott Bitterman, so he was on our steering committee for the Safety Action Plan, and so he understands the Safe Streets and Roads for All funding, but essentially there's money for planning, there's money for infrastructure, so it would be up to you all what you want to apply for. So, if you want to say, I believe you need a 20% match, it's 20 or 25%. So, for example, if the 3 million is your 25% match, then you can go up to 12 million is your request.
Right.
And if that covers whatever you need for the tunnel, then that's probably how that application would go. But it's really up to you how, if you all wanted to go that route with it and kind of do the technology signal piece and look at infrastructure as well to address the issue, then we certainly could assist with that.
Okay, and you can help us write the grant?
Yes.
Okay. Jeff, you got that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Trammell?
I think Mr. Bagby just answered my question because for a long time, the county controlled the stoplights out here, and they monitored all of those. So I didn't know how much of a county-city project this was going to have to be and how much control we actually had of it.
We gave them the control, we can take it back.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So we're looking at contacting the county and getting them on board. So I think our TPO representatives should be working that real hard. Thank you.
Got a meeting with Tim Smith tomorrow. All right, Councilman Braden? Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. In reference to the traffic signals, the low-hanging fruit, can that crosswalk, I know they're wearing that button out on that crosswalk, can that be extended, the time of that? I know we can extend the time of the light itself, but what about the crosswalk?
The amount of time it takes, you're
Well, to
talking about the
turn that
amount of
light
time it
red.
takes to cross?
No, just, I don't know how that works, but, when somebody pushes that button, how long it takes for the light to turn red so they can cross? Can that time be extended to keep that light going?
The amount of time that's being provided to pedestrians extended, or the time that,
I don't know what,
you're talking about the delay between when they push the button and when they get
Correct.
the?
Correct.
It is adjustable, and it's most likely adjustable with the existing equipment you have.
that's probably, I guess, something the county, we'd have to ask the county, because I think they extended that light, link to that light, but, okay. That's all, Mayor, thank you.
And then just to add on that, as far as the pedestrian crossing, you guys talking about, because I see it a lot over at Beauchamps where they push the button and then by fate, there's a gap, so you shoot the gap and then the timer still goes. So now I'm halfway down to AJ's and now it turned red. And now we kind of have like a ghost red pedestrian thing. Is there any kind of like small solutions that could either allow for a manual stop of the switch or some kind of detection of, all right, they've clearly crossed and now that button's invalid.
Yeah, that's a concern that's been brought up that I'm aware of in various agencies. And I think it's one of those things where, are we ever going to be comfortable enough with the detection systems we have in place to be 100% confident that there's not a pedestrian in the crosswalk? Because the last thing you want to do is have somebody who really needs a lot of time to get across, and then the system says, oh, there's nobody there, let the cars go. And I don't know if there's an agency out there right now that would be comfortable, or I don't know if there's a detection system and an agency out there right now that would be comfortable with that. Now, advancements in detection technology could get us to the point where we say, yes, we are comfortable with that, and we believe we can do it with 100% accuracy, and then that would be a very good application.
Hopefully we'll have a tunnel by then.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I don't see anything else. Thank you guys so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next is the Arbor Day proclamation, celebration proclamation. Stand over here, Bobby. All right. So I have some of the Park Committee here, so thank you guys so much for joining me up here. This is the City of Destin Proclamation, Destin Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton passionately proposed the planting of trees as an act of stewardship leading to the establishment of Arbor Day, a legacy celebrated now throughout our nation and around the world. And whereas Arbor Day's inaugural celebration inspired the planting of more than 1 million trees, igniting a global movement to continue the growth, transforming our environment and community. And whereas trees are vital guardians of our environment, reducing soil erosion, moderating temperatures, cleansing the air we breathe, and producing life-giving oxygen. They provide essential habitats for countless wildlife species, supporting biodiversity and ecology balance. And whereas trees in Destin significantly enhances our quality of life by increasing property values, strengthening the economic vitality of our commercial areas, and the beautifying of neighborhoods. They offer shade, tranquility, and a connection to nature that rejuvenates our spirits and uplifts our community. Here comes my favorite part. Whereas, while palm trees are iconic and decorative for our coastal community, they are botanically classified as grasses and provide limited environmental benefits, such as reducing shade, minimal oxygen production, and limited habitat value compared to true tree species. No offense. Whereas our commitment to planting and preserving true trees today will endure a healthier, more sustainable Destin for generations to come, creating a legacy of environmental stewardship and community pride. Now, therefore, I, Bobby Wagner, Mayor of Destin, on behalf of the City Council, passionately proclaim April 22nd, 2025 as Arbor Day in Destin, Florida. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to take a local jab at palm trees. All right. Moving along is public comments. I'm going to start on my right and move to my left, y'all's right. You have 3 minutes. Just name and address, and the floor is yours. Do I have anyone here from the middle?
Hi there. Tammy Weidenhammer. Whoa, that's really loud. 2004-98 Palms Boulevard. And I just have a comment. I wanted to represent for the 13 Weidenhammers that showed up this weekend for the Pooch Palooza to help put it on and pull it off. And a special thank you to the chair of the Parks and Rec Committee, Autumn Weidenhammer, who organized it and put it all together and worked very diligently with the city, and also a lot of thanks to the city staff who worked very, very hard and had everything excellently pulled off. So that was a great experience. And also thank you to the Okaloosa County Sheriff who shared their canine with us. So that was great. Everybody loved that presentation. And to the councilwomen that showed up, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. So, and just a great thank you to everybody. It was a great community. Everybody had a great time, and looking forward to doing it again next year. So thank you so much for everything and everybody's help, and it was great.
Thank you so much. All right, anyone else? Middle. All right, to the right, anyone? All right. All right, we're close the public comments and moving right along. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any consideration? Seeing none? All right, we'll call the vote vocally, I believe. Councilman Braden?
Yes.
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 All right. Ayes have it, so moved. And now we'll go into the city manager report, and we will do the walked-on item first.
Thank you, Mayor. So this walked-on item was on the March 17th City Council agenda, but was postponed to tonight, so that's why it didn't show up in the agenda package. But if you go back to the March 17th agenda for the public, all the details are in there. So this is a request from Max Fogarty of Max Management regarding one vessel seeking an exception from the livery vessel moratorium prohibitions for similar reasons as have been expressed by the yachts recently in the community. The vessel at issue in this request is a 35-foot-long pontoon known as the Destin Party Pontoon. The vessel holds up to 12 passengers, 4 people per car, plus a parking spot for the captain. Is in place. This vessel has received a BTR through Parrot Head Yachts and has been in operation since 2021 as a bareboat charter with the captain. They too had the confusion similar to the yachts. The operations are located at 530 Harbor Boulevard, which is Gilligan's, via a lease with the property owner. And I believe Mr. Fogarty is here if you have any questions. But as you all know, the moratorium contains a process to request exceptions if, money has been expended in reliance on the ordinances. And in this case, the applicant has expended in excess of $50,000 per the information that he has informed us.
Awesome.
So, Mr. Fogarty, did you want to speak to the council? Or just be available for questions?
Yeah. Yep. Just hit the gray button first. There you go.
Max Fogarty, 500 Driftwood Lane. You guys have all heard my story before, and she kind of summarized it. I've had to work through all these other people and do all these avenues to try to do everything as legally as possible. I've always tried to follow all the rules, and I really do just want to be legal and like a shining example of like how it can be done the right way. So I just kind of wanted to come up here and just say that to you guys again, to reinforce it, to let you guys know that I think we are on the same page. I want the same thing that you guys want. I want people to make the city better. I don't want to have to operate behind, gray areas and do all this stuff. I just want to be legal, and I want to make the tourism industry better here. I don't want to just wring the city out for whatever it's worth and exploit it. I want to be a healthy part of the economy, and I just want you all to know that, and that's my whole purpose here. And just take that into consideration. So thank you all for your time, and I really appreciate everything.
Awesome. Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, I'll just add, I've spoken with Max for a couple of years now as he was going down the pursuit of doing a legal business in Destin, and he's been doing nothing but trying to get there. And now he has a lease with the property owner on the harbor, and so I 100% support the fight you've been doing for a couple of years, and thank you for doing it the right way. So I'll move to approve the request as presented.
I have a motion, Councilwoman
Second.
Campbell?
I'll second that.
Yep. You got a second there. Any further discussions? All right, Councilman Guile.
Did the staff do the parking analysis to make sure he has enough
Yeah,
parking?
so if I know you don't have it in the agenda tonight, it was here, it was in the packet on the 17th, but it says provided that all of the codes are met. So if he got the exception, he would still have to come into compliance with all the codes if he's not already, meaning parking, bathrooms. I believe that he already does have everything, but we don't know because we don't have the formal application until staff gives him the permission. It would be reviewed, and if he did not meet those requirements, he wouldn't be allowed to operate. But
Yes,
he either
yes,
will
sir. I
or
do
does.
have more than enough parking plus an additional spot for my Captain to park. I rent at Gilligan's right now, so I have 4 parking spots rented for my customers and a 5th for my captain, so.
All right, seeing no further discussion, I'll call the vote. Oh, yeah, Councilman Schmidt?
Yes.
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 Awesome, congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, turn her off.
Yeah, just hit that button.
You can go home now.
Yeah, you can get back to your real life. All right, Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The item 4A in your packet is the final deliverable from the SRS master plan. No action requested tonight other than presenting it to you for your review, unless there is any recommendations from council that staff move forward in any of the components of it or any direction you'd have for us. We'd certainly entertain that tonight or at any future meeting. But this was the last deliverable in their contract, and so we just want to make sure you had it as they presented it to us.
I'm going to jump in on you there. So last thing I'd be afraid of is this join the rest of the master plans that are collecting dust on a shelf somewhere. So obviously, probably the biggest hurdle is the financial contribution that it'll take from us. So I didn't know if we, as a council, had any discrepancy or direction on, with our lobbyists perhaps, and with different buckets of money out there between Triumph and some of our business partners and community partners out there, if there was a place that we could consider directing staff and perhaps some of our lobbying resources to go towards finding the money for something that we can agree on as part of one of those phases in there. So I don't know if you guys have any considerations now of what you would feel is probably most prudent to get towards, or where should we start that probably has the most legal sway up here. So Councilman Schmidt.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you saying a few words here. I agree. I think we need to do something with this plan and not just put it on the shelf with some of the other ones. I think for the sake of our taxpayers as well that spent quite a bit of money on putting this plan together, we should continue the pursuit of something. It's a very big chunk, very big projects. And I think we all agree on that. But I don't think, in my opinion, we're trying to do something like this next year or a couple years from now. So my thoughts are, and this will be kind of part of my discussion later as well, I believe we need to have staff start bringing this in a plan of a multi-phase approach over the next 10 to 20 years on how it could be achieved. Cleaning these items up, some of these things on the list that we already have or maybe we don't need, proposing the Triumph funding, the grant opportunities, the state, the county, the TDC, really presenting it in a manner to us as we are coming up on our budget and our capital planning cycle. I'd like to see it. So that's kind of my thoughts, and I can finish off with a motion later, but I'll let Sandy and whoever else speak too.
All right, Councilwoman Trammell.
I was going to make a recommendation that somehow this council has to decide where they want to start. I don't think staff has any direction as to where we want to start. So maybe we should look at a workshop regarding this or another council meeting regarding this where we can give them some delineation of where to start and where to go from here. And I had it run off. It's about this thick, so there's a lot of meat in there. But we do need some idea of where to start.
I agree. Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, I kind of agree with both of you. This would have been good to get before we had our strategic visioning so that we could sit down in a workshop environment. There's lots of things that I think are good in it. There are lots of things that I kind of disagree with. I don't think we need 2 open-air amphitheater or whatever you want to call them, 500 feet from each other, one on Harbor One and one at where the community center is. That, pick one or the other, or neither and put it all over in here. But I think a workshop is probably the way to go, because for us to sit up here and spend 2 hours trying to give, figure out what direction we want to give staff is probably a waste of our time, a waste of their time, and definitely a waste of the people who came here to see us make some decisions. So I'll support a workshop, but it's not like, I don't think Triumph will fund this. Larry and I have had conversations with them, and it's, if you're not creating jobs, and I'm not talking two people working in a welcome center type job, jobs, it's not going to do. So, yeah,
All right, does anyone have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move for staff to bring us back some options for a workshop in the next June, summer timeframe.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussions on that? Seeing none? Are you up? Nope.
can't.
All right, Kevin, run down, voice, vote.
Oh, yes.
All right, yes.
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
4,
Yes.
Yes.
6,
Yes.
7. All right, 7 yeses. So moved. All right, Larry.
Thank you, Council. Mr. Mayor, the next item is 4B, which is the STR Compliance Solutions RFP. Previously, in fact, back in November the 18th, we had this discussion, and Councilmember Gile was the legislative sponsor to move this forward regarding the issuance of an RFP to manage the short-term rental registrations and to work on some compliance matters there. So this would be, your approval of this would move forward to putting the request for proposal on the street to ask for proposals to manage this. We're looking at another 4,000 to 5,000 units to be in this program once we bring the condominiums on board. So that would be a very heavy lift for staff, and we believe it would be better managed with an outside party. And we also would include in that conversation some contact with the clerk of court to find out what their potential would be to serve in this capacity. And we, spoken some of our briefings this afternoon regarding that, so there may be some further details there. But in any event, we would perhaps run both of them parallel to see which one would have the best option for us. We would anticipate that from our research, it's about $50 per unit per year to implement this and to manage it, which if we move forward with the $300 number that's been floating around, not that it's been nailed down, but that leave about $1.2 million in revenue for the city after this is taken care of. So our recommendation would be to move it forward in conjunction with having conversation with the clerk of court and their ability to provide such services to the city.
All right, thank you. Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, I did talk to the clerk of the court right
Okay.
before I came in here, and he and I are going to meet next Monday, either 9 or 9:30. The clerk of the court is the one that collects the bed tax, just so all of you know, and they have all the worldwide list of bed tax remitters in Okaloosa County, specifically in Destin. So everybody that would be paying this fee, whether they're condominium or a house, they already have. And they have about a 98 to 99% efficiency rate on identification of those short-term renters, rental units, and they are already collecting the money. They are allowed, just so you know, by the state statute to collect up to 3% of the bed tax revenue to use collecting it. All they charge the county is what their actual costs are, so, which don't exceed the 3%, obviously. So if we can get somebody who actually helps us collect this for less than 3% of the 300 to 500, how much ever we're going to end up charging these people, that is by far and away the most efficient methodology, I think. So I would just ask that we table this until the next meeting, and then I'll be able to provide y'all feedback from the clerk of the court's discussion and see if they can, because they already have all the information. All they have to send out, and oh, by the way, yes, last month they noticed I think he told me 7 people who, they have a crawler, so it crawls through VRBO, it crawls through all the rental websites and stuff, and identifies people in this area who are not remitting the bed tax, and that's how come they have such a high efficiency rate on collecting that. So they can use the same service to help us at the same time.
All right, so before I acknowledge the table, I'm going to get
Okay.
Councilman Destin in there so we don't cut off everything on the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just going to support that at $50 on a 300. That's, what, 15%? 3% is a lot better than that and would net us another $150,000, $200,000. So we need to explore that. And I'll even make the motion for Jim to postpone this until the next meeting, so hopefully he'll have information then.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
All right, I have a motion to put this on the next meeting with a second. My only further discussion, we got down the rabbit hole, honestly, because of the dogs, and we started talking about things that Walton County does. And perhaps if that's the route, when we go that route, this kind of becomes not significant. But if we do go with a third party, to potentially open that up to allow us to have multiple different permits or different fees that we could collect if we were to go a subcontract route from a for-profit company, your guys' thoughts on potentially opening that up to allow for a lot of different permits or a lot of different options that we would provide for services. So we're getting pushed to the next one, but I just wanted to throw out there, that's kind of a conversation we had that I thought merit a little bit of potential value for later on. Councilman Gao?
Realistically, if we're worried about the $50, we can always pass that along as part of the fee. Just like whenever you sell something in a restaurant, you pass along a 3% credit card fee. We could just pass the $50 along with the registration fee initially, and then you've captured the entire amount of money. I think it's more beneficial to look at an outside service. I want to listen to see what they offer, but I think we have more versatility with an outside office, and we can try to manipulate the company a little bit more than we can the county clerk's office or an inside entity.
All right, so I got a motion and second, and I will call the vote to push this to the next meeting after we get some clarification. Councilman Braden?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
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 All right, let's have it so moved, 7-0.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilman
Mayor,
Jones.
Council. Next item is 4C. This is in regards to the Shores at Crystal Beach Park Concept Review. When we published the agenda, we had not received any comments back from the county regarding our comments on their proposals. We have since received that back, and it's under staff review to better understand the compliance with our code and the need or the lack of need for any variances on the revisions that they have made. So what you have in your packet are the two plans that came back from the county with our comments from staff and where they didn't comply with our code. Since this was published, again, we have gotten feedback from the county, and that is under review with our staff right now to determine where there may need to be variances granted if we move forward with either of those two. So we would recommend that we not take any action tonight, but let us bring you back at the next meeting what our staff finds, where we're in compliance, where we may need a variance. The county has presented us with two options in their review from the county, and of course, we're not going to rely on that. One option required no variances and one were minor variances, so we'll get that information and get it, our arms wrapped around it so we can present it to you in a more meaningful form at the next meeting.
All right. Good.
Nick?
Next item, 4D, is pickleball. We had bids received. We had two bids. The lowest responsive bidder was BGN for a total of $686,070.90. That's a base bid of $644,620.90 for plus the alternate, which is the shade structures and the parking, $41,450. So we would recommend that we move forward with negotiating a contract with BGN. and we'll bring that back to you as soon as we get that done, recognizing that we have a commitment from the TDC for the $300,000 to help fund this, and that may be the first Board of County Commissioners meeting in May before that's totally approved, but we anticipate no problem with it. But in the meantime, we will be negotiating this contract with BGN.
Councilman Bagby?
Move to award the bid for RFB 25-02-REC to BGN.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Anything else considering pickleball? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Councilman Schmidt?
Yes.
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 All right, that is 7-0, so moved. All right, boss man.
Next item is 4E, which is a discussion concerning the minor development order for improvements to the existing Captain Royal Melvin Park. There's no action required for this. It's kind of, we're bringing it to you to see if the council has any wishes regarding the 10-foot sidewalk, which would make it code compliant, or perhaps a handicap or code, a ADA compliant parking space on site. Otherwise, we just want to bring your attention that there has been some issues raised from some neighbors that we're requiring to comply with codes. And when the city put Captain Royal Melvin Park in, it was use of some federal dollars, and it goes back for a number of years. And when it was built, it complied with the code. But there's certainly some questions asked whether there's some things we'd want to do now that would make it compliant. We don't have to do anything, but there's some options there of, closing the driveway, leaving the driveway open, putting in a handicap compliant, to put in the 10-foot sidewalk, or leaving the 5-foot sidewalk. It's completely at council's discretion whether you want to do anything or not.
All right, Councilman Braden?
Yeah, like I said in my agenda briefing, the only thing I would like to see is the sidewalk brought up to speed, or whatever else is our neighbors are putting in. I think that should be done.
Okay. Councilwoman Avery?
And my thoughts are, we were federally funded on that. We should be grandfathered in. This is a situation where, we did this way before all these rules and regulations came out, and it was a federal project. So we need to make sure we don't do anything that jeopardizes future federal projects.
And I think Ms. Caldwell comply with, that's our position, that it is grandfathered and nothing is required, but we can if you choose to.
Okay. Councilman Destin? Oh, sorry. Would you like to respond, Ms. Cobb? Did you? Yep.
On the sidewalk, we would have the only 10-foot sidewalk, I believe. I don't know when the next one is, if there's even one between us and the bridge.
Probably Mike Abity.
So that issue is, I don't know why we would do that and spend that money. On the issue of the handicap parking space, that is the largest, if not the only handicap ramp on the harbor. And the very concept that we were going to place our handicap parking across the street in another parking lot was very questionable legally. Morally, no question at all. You need a handicap parking space there. Otherwise, I guess you're going to wheel across the street. That was always a crazy idea. I was pretty sure that I didn't have the option to put my handicap parking across the street in a separate parking lot when I remodeled the restaurant, and no one else can do that. So I would like to see us come up with a way to, and there are some drawings, and it can be done, to put at least one handicap so someone could actually use that beautiful ramp we've built to take people down to the harbor front. And we also at one time spoke about trying to put a handicap ramp so people could actually board a vessel in their wheelchair down at the city's space down there. I'd still like to pursue that. There's really no handicap ramp where someone could get on a boat with their wheelchair in Destin. So the first step toward that is at least having a handicap parking space. And that's where my thoughts on this issue are, but to put in a 10-foot sidewalk where there's no 10-foot sidewalk for hundreds and hundreds of yards or feet, whatever it is, up and down the road, just doesn't make a lot of sense unless we just like spending money.
Ms. Cobb, do you have anything?
Nope, it's up to council. I didn't know, is that a substitute motion or an amendment or what?
There's
Just
no
discussion?
motion, I think.
No motion.
So far, it's just been,
Okay, no, because
yeah,
Rodney
I-
made a motion.
you didn't make a motion, you're just, You're advocating for the sidewalks, Councilman Braden?
Yeah, that was all. And
Okay,
if we're gonna do
gotcha.
that, then I mean, when somebody remodels, no matter where it's at, we're gonna waive that sidewalk as well because there's no sidewalk around it or attached to it. I mean, I thought that's what the ultimate goal was for the city and the multimodal, so. I mean, we made one guy do it. So we're not gonna make anybody else do it unless they're attached to his, or how's that work?
No, everybody that comes in for redevelopment today is asked to do the 10-foot sidewalk. The city's project, of course, was approved many years ago and received the federal grant money, so they came in before that requirement. However, today, if anyone comes in to redevelop, they're required to do the 10-foot sidewalk.
Okay.
We do not ask the property owners that are existing already to change their sidewalks until they come in to redevelop in some way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Gao?
I think my question was just answered, but I want to make sure. Right now, there currently is not a parking spot for handicap, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
It's across the street.
okay, so we're talking about adding a parking spot for handicap. How does that not constitute an upgrade where it requires us to bring things to compliance? If we add the parking spot. I just want to understand if we add it, how that
You're
doesn't.
not talking about redeveloping the property, you're talking about adding a parking spot. So we have the 4 options that you all can discuss, or other options, but the way we presented it was to just keep the current configuration, including the access, the sidewalk, and the current parking, or close the access point and install the sidewalk, or keep the access open, install the parking spot and the sidewalk, or just do the parking spot without the other changes. In my opinion, the less you change on a federally funded project, the better, but there are federal laws about ADA compliance that, have been met. You have to have handicap parking on site if possible. So at the time this was approved, it was determined clearly that it wasn't possible, but if there is a way to do it, and we can do it, that would be great for the ADA.
All right, and I think something's a little bit contradictory, because what we're saying is there are no handicap along the harbor, so let's add a handicap. But then the other conversation was there are no 10-foot sidewalks, so let's not add a 10-foot sidewalk.
No, there are some 10-foot sidewalks for people that have come in and redeveloped. There is not one adjacent to the park at this time.
All right, thank you.
To clarify, no one made the argument that there's no handicap on the harbor. The harbor is full of handicap parking, and except for in our park. Everybody else that's down there has handicap. So
Then I
I'm not,
misunderstood what you said, I apologize.
yeah,
misunderstood.
we just need to have our handicap parking spot where we should have had it all along. We kind of self-policed ourselves and said it's not possible to put one in when we built the park, which was absolutely not true.
Well, there's a huge parking lot right next to it that has a gate that goes right into the park. We
Which
could
one
always
is
put
that?
it there.
And for the record, if I volunteered to give up a handicap parking, it was rejected at the time. We can explore that again. But to have the giant handicap parking ramp and no handicap parking within sight is pretty amazing stuff. Only the city could get away with that.
Well, if you don't mind if I just talk about that real quick. The building code, the accessibility code actually states if parking spaces are provided, then one must meet handicap parking. Being that the park, we didn't provide any parking at all, that means we don't have to have a handicap parking space, but.
And of course, that's not true. Of course, that's not true. We provided parking across the street
Right,
as
and that-
part of our permit. So we did provide parking. We
Yeah,
just didn't provide it on site.
there's handicap parking over there,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Those are dancing around the rules, and should we ever get a real ruling from the handicapped people in Washington, I think we would get a big thump on the side of the head.
Councilman Bagby?
So I'm not in favor of 10-foot sidewalk unless we redevelop, which is about standard. On the handicap parking, I see 3 options. Option number 1 is do nothing and say, hey, it's across the street. Option number 2 is to do a cut-in drop-off for handicap folks, because I agree that we ought to provide some access to the biggest handicap ramp on the harbor. Our option 3 is to work with one of the adjacent property owners and see if they can, well, there's 2, so, but we could, to get a handicap parking spot at the north end of their lots designated so that they could park there and it would have a sign that says parking for, Destin City Park only, or handicap parking for Destin City. And I'm actually okay with all 3 of those. I think my preferred might be a drop-off. The problem is everybody and their brother who's not handicapped would be using that as a drop-off, and then somebody would be stupid enough to actually park there because it wouldn't say buses only or whatever, and then might create more problems. But, my recommendation is we have staff bring back one of those proposals, or the city manager bring back one of those proposals, or a proposal, and say, here's actually what we recommend, unless this is, you're recommending we just do it across the street and keep the 5-foot sidewalk.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw in, I'm only fear of adding another ingress egress is just the same kind of study that we just got with Kimley Horn. It's just one more place for a rear end bumper. I mean, it's a highway and we're trying to ingress. So I do appreciate having the ADA over there, but I kind of like the idea of hopefully partnering with a neighbor with something like that. So do you need any direction, or is that pretty clear?
The only thing I would add is we've got an engineer coming on staff early next month, and it'll be a good project to turn him on to,
Nice.
if everybody's good with that.
All right.
Well, I would like to, a little clarity, sir.
Yes, sir.
Turn loose on what? Because
Oh,
nobody said to do
to
anything.
review whether-
I don't think we're
whether-
gonna do anything.
Okay.
Unless somebody wants to do something. So then if you want to do something, make a motion, we'll do it.
Fair enough, Councilman.
All right.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we enter into discussion with the adjacent property owners to see if we can procure one handicap parking space at the north end of their lot adjacent to our park.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Destin, would you like to abstain from this vote?
I thought he wanted a free sidewalk, or free ADA sidewalk, but. Councilman Trammell, yep.
I just have a question, Mr. Bagby. Is it okay if both of them have one?
Hey,
On either side?
the more the merrier. If they
Okay.
both want to give us 2 each, that's 4 handicap parking spots that people can use to access the art. I'm fine with that.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Braden?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm confused because I don't know what the difference is having a handicap parking place next door or across the street. It's still not on the property. So, I mean, we're still not there. And plus, we've already spent, I don't know, $10, $20 million on this piece of property.
So you want to spend more?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't want to spend another dime on it doing nothing, to be honest with you, but, and we're not putting the parking on it. We got one across the street, now we want to put it next door, so we're not accomplishing anything.
All right, call the vote. Councilman Schmidt?
No.
Right,
No.
No.
3.
Yes.
Yes?
No.
Oh. Where we at?
No no's.
Oh, so I get to break the tie.
There's no tie.
Because Dewey had to
It's
back off.
against.
He couldn't vote.
4 to 2, against.
Oh, good. Oh, gotcha. He's abstained. Okay, gotcha. Doing my little finger math. All right, so. All right, dies, and we'll continue on.
So with that, just
Can we-
to be clear,
can we
staff's
make a-
not going to do anything.
Can we make a motion, just leave it as is?
You can, Rodney.
Okay, I make a motion, just leave it as is.
I'll second that.
All right, motion is second. I don't think there's any further discussion. All right, call the vote. Braden?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 All right, there we go. 6-0 with a possible abstention. Just
Councilmember Dustin abstained and did not vote, so it is 1, 2, 3, 4,
6, oh.
6, 0.
All right, thank you. Councilman Trammell, you anything?
I just have something that is sort of kind of related to this. The stormwater on the lower half of that is still flooding onto other properties. So if you wanted something for the engineer to do when he gets here, if he could study the stormwater on that piece of land and make sure we have adequate stormwater.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
All right, do I hear a second for our new engineer to study? Well, you don't laugh at me. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussions on studying the stormwater in the base of the park?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm once again not sure, am I supposed to be voting on this?
Hey, we got a legal question?
Should I abstain on this one also? But for the record, should I abstain on this? But for the record, we're having no problem with water coming from the park on our side.
To have the engineer study the stormwater runoff on the base of the park, on the
Yeah,
bottom
probably.
side?
I think that motion would be to the city manager to direct the city engineer first. But
Yeah.
That's all.
second,
Your mic's not on.
Councilmember Destin, unless you have a financial interest, I don't think you need to abstain.
Okay, I'll vote on that one.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion, if we want to correct it, to direct the city manager.
To have the engineer look at the stormwater.
Okay.
to the park.
It would
All
be
right.
to direct the city
City
manager.
manager to have, yep.
To have the city engineer.
Okay. And I got the second. With that, I will call the vote. Councilman Braden?
yes.
Yes.
I will vote no since I don't think we have a problem.
All right.
Yes.
3-1.
I'm going to vote no because he's got a lot going on.
All right, 3-2,
No.
3-3,
No.
3-4. All right, dies. All right. Great time for ideas. All right, appreciate that. Lively discussion.
Next
Boss Man
item,
Jones.
Mr. Mayor, is 4F regarding the purchasing resolution 2210. Back in December, we had some discussion about it at council, and we're late getting it back to you, but we have it for you tonight with some recommended changes from staff for your purview, and any further recommendations that you may have either tonight or over the next few days that we'll bring back to you for action at the next meeting. Any changes you see there that you don't think we should make, or any additional changes, we'd certainly entertain those.
That, any discussion? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I have two
Oh, you have
recommended
it.
changes.
Okay.
The first one is, I think, on page 2, or it's in B, subparagraph V. I don't have a problem with them temporarily or permanently removing the names of vendors who have defaulted, but there needs to be a mechanism where the vendor can appeal. Some of these, they change ownership or whatever, and that was the old guy, or they had a bad employee that violated this, or needs to be some mechanism. So I would ask that staff bring it back with a mechanism for the vendor to appeal, particularly the permanent. I don't mind the temporary, but the permanent removal of a vendor seems a little harsh without the ability to appeal. And then on Article 2, I think the $5,000 that became $5 in the second paragraph there, an encumbrance purchase requisition / PO will be required for purchases over $5. I think that, not sure, maybe we were a little overzealous on the line through,
Yeah.
and it should be 5,000. So
We're a
those
little
are,
aggressive on the delete button.
yeah,
so
I
5,000.
will make a motion to approve pending
Those changes.
those two changes coming back to us because I'm not sure what
I'll second.
a mechanism to appeal would be.
All right, I have a motion and second. Any other considerations for the topic? Seeing none, Councilman Schmidt, you'd like to start us off?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
All right, 7-0, so moved.
Okay, item 4G are draft minutes from the standing committees and board for information. And 4H are announcements, just a, you leave? Okay. First of all, David Pritchard, our new Community Development Director, will be on board next Monday. So we're looking forward to getting him here and getting him moving. Robert Thomasak, our engineer, will be a little later than that. He's working on selling a house and getting a kid out of school, so probably first couple of weeks in May, he'll be on board and ready to go. Two things. At the last meeting, you asked us to submit a letter regarding House Bill 991 and Senate Bill 1242 regarding the CRA legislation. Those went out, and we've gotten some feedback that those bills are getting butchered up pretty good in committee. So if they ever make it to the House or Senate floor, they'll probably be considerably different than what we've seen so far. Then you gave us direction to get the no trespassing signs up on Noriega Point. They're there, and I believe Captain Fulton has let us know that they've had no incidents or issues since they've been up. So I just want to give you an update on those two.
Good evening. Our annual Easter egg hunt will be Saturday, April 19th at 9 a.m. at Morgan Sports Center. Friday, April 25th is Arbor Day, as we heard earlier. We'll be holding a ceremony at Kel Air Nature Walk at 10 a.m. with a tree planting, and everyone is invited to that. Our library has received a $3,000 grant from Florida Humanities toward its 2025 summer reading program. Also, the library will be closed on Friday, April 11th for its annual staff training day. The county has let us know they received 9 bids for the beach access Phase 2 tarpon improvement project. They are planning to take it to their board on April 15th. The city was awarded a $2,782.50 matching grant from the Florida Department of Agriculture for the purchase of 12 trees. 8 trees will be planted at Kel Air South and 4 at the dog park. The tree species are live oak, holly, willow, and maple. Does our mayor approve?
No palm trees.
No palm trees. And lastly, the Primrose celebrates her 100th birthday on May 3rd, so we wanted to give a shout out for that. The Destin History and Fishing Museum is holding a birthday party for the Primrose that day from 12:30 to 2:30, and all of the public is invited to attend that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Kopp.
I'd like to say my birthday is May 3rd, but I will not be 100. No. Okay. Ordinances, this is going to be the first public hearing, ordinance number 2405CN, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, providing for authority, providing for findings of fact, providing for abandonment of a segment of environmental preservation area in Pine Ridge Trace subdivision, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading. The applicant is here, but since you heard him at the last meeting, there won't be a presentation unless you have questions.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. With that, seeing that this is a public hearing at this time, if anyone from the public wishes to speak on this specific topic, this is your time to do so.
Council, Mr. Mayor, thank you, and good seeing you all tonight. Approximately 5 years ago, I stood in front of you, many of you were still here, and my vacation or right-of-way proposal was, the audience looked a little different. It was more akin to a Frankenstein movie. There were probably even some pitchforks there. The law enforcement was here, and they did, in fact, have duties to perform that night. So, I'm here. Maybe it's kind of a cleansing thing, but I tell you, it was very, very tough. The applicant, one of the main people against our vacation or right-of-way sits in front of you tonight, asking for the very thing that she rebelled against was so evil for me to want. I could talk about the fact that she has been on record in front of the LPA and the city council stating that vacation or right-of-ways are bad. We shouldn't be doing them. It's giving away land. I could talk about how her house is not only in the setback, it's actually in the right-of-way. But I'm not going to talk about that either. Could talk about how there was talk that I was trying to do this to get the land, I was going to sell the house and make a bunch of money. But I'm still there, and yet the applicant has her house for sale. But you know what? In a surprising move, maybe even to me, I'm not going to ask you not to approve this. You know why? It's none of my business. This doesn't impact me, much the same way that my vacation didn't impact her. But it didn't stop her and other members of the community from going after me. The signs, and that is what I will talk about tonight. There were signs that the applicant put all over the neighborhood. Stop the vacation, stop the steal. Some of those signs were actually on the very piece of property.
Mayor, point of order. This is about this application, not applications that came previously. Can we direct the applicant? or the
Fine,
speaker?
I'll wrap it up. Thank you, and I understand why you feel that way. So the pain that that caused in my wife, imagine going home and looking at those signs after a hard day's work. It made me mad. But what it did to my wife, I will never forget. But you know what? I'm going to take the higher road, Ms. Trammell, and I'm going to say, go ahead, approve it if it's the right thing for the community. Because we're all supposed to be here. We're a small community. We're supposed to help each other. We're supposed to love thy neighbor, a wise person once said. So I just hope that the applicant has learned that people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Thank you.
Did you get his name and address?
Oh,
Yep.
throw it on,
Put it
yep,
on
sorry
the
about
record.
that, Tim. Yep, name and address.
Tim Kruger, 604 Harbor Lane,
All right, appreciate
Destin. Thank you.
that. Councilman Braden?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make that motion. I move the city council adopt ordinance 24-05-CN.
My bad, sorry, yep, sorry.
Still public comment.
Sorry, Braden. Yeah, anyone else from the public wish to speak on this? Yes.
Attorney Jeff Burns, on behalf of the applicant, Ms. Amanda Belcher. Her house is not for sale. That's her next door neighbor's house that's for sale. This is her forever home. So.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no other public comments? All right, I'll close the, oh, yes, sir. All right, just push that gray button. It'll turn red. Name and address.
Hi, Craig Schultz, 21 Pine Ridge Trace. So I just had one question really about the whole situation. With the cul-de-sacs the way they are, or is anybody going to come around, because I think the cul-de-sacs belong to the city, is anybody going to come around and clean those up as a city thing, or do we as neighbors need to take care of that? That's my only question. Thank you.
All right, do we have right away or is this?
I'm not sure what cul-de-sacs you're talking about. Do you know, Mr. Burgess? Can you be more specific? We're not sure what you mean. Or we can meet with you and figure out what you mean.
Yeah, happy to help.
So there's, I think, 3 cul-de-sacs on the north side of the airport side, and then there's 1 cul-de-sac on the Main Street side. If I looked at the map properly, those areas between plots is considered city property, if I understand that right from looking at the maps. And we're just wondering if that area is going to be taken care of and maintained by the city, or if we as neighbors need to maintain and clean that up. I guess
Still
is
not
my
sure what
question.
you're talking about, but Mr. Burgess is going to look into it, and he would be able to provide you with a response.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Thank you. All right, Councilman Braden, please go ahead.
I'll make the same motion.
All right, I got a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bagby. Any further discussions? All right, seeing none, call the vote. Councilman Braden?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor, I think I will have to abstain. I abstained on the last time, so
Okay. All
I
right,
get
so
to
we have
fill all
another
those forms
abstention?
out tonight.
Yes.
All right,
I also have to abstain.
all right, 2 abstentions.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I have mass hard, 5-0, 2 abstentions, and I guess you guys will tell the why on the paper. All right, great. Kim?
Well, I think they told the why at the last meeting, but the reason for Ms. Hebert is property ownership, and the reason for Mr. Destin is family property ownership. Okay, next ordinance is number 24-16CN, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, providing for authority, providing for findings of fact, providing for abandonment of the environmental preservation area in Pine Ridge Trace subdivision, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And as you know, this is the city's application for the parcels referenced in the ordinance. This is second reading.
All right, and seeing that this is second reading of 24-16CN, if anyone here wishes to speak on this topic, this is your time to do so. All right, seeing none, I will close the public comments and entertain a motion for this hearing.
I'll make it, Mayor. I move the city council approve ordinance 25-01-LC on first reading and bring back for second reading on April 21st.
You're 2416.
2416.
CN. You skipped down one, too.
Oh. Do that.
2416 CN.
You good with that?
Yeah, I move to adopt the 24-16-CN and execute the easement agreement with Destin Water Users, Inc.
Awesome. All right, I got a motion by Councilman Braden. Do I hear a second? Second, Councilman Bagby. Seeing any further discussion? Seeing none. All right, we'll call the vote. Councilman Schmidt?
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Abstain.
I will abstain because family members will be affected by this abandonment.
All right,
Yes.
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 All right, 5-0, 2 abstentions. So moved. All right.
Thank you, Mayor. The next public hearing is ordinance number 2501 LC, and also ordinance, I'm going to do two ordinances together, 2502 CC, and I'll explain why we're doing them together after I read the titles. 2501 LC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, amending Article 20 Building Regulations of the Land Development Code relating to contractor insurance and contractor revocations, removing Section 200800 contractors from the Land Development Code, providing for a business impact estimate as required by state law, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the Land Development Code, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Ordinance 2502 CC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, amending Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances, Licenses, Permits, and Miscellaneous to address contractor insurance and contractor revocations, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a business impact estimate, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And the reason we're reading these together is because what these two ordinances do together is remove the provisions from the LDC and simply place them into the Code of Ordinances. And this is part of the ongoing LDC rewrite and movement by the building official of building-related regulations from the LDC into the Code of Ordinances so that they are all in one place.
All right, so at this time, if anyone's here to speak on 5C or 5D, this is your time to do so. All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comments on both of those public hearings. Councilman Bagby?
I move that the city council approve ordinance 25-01-LC and 25-02-CC on first reading and bring back for second reading on April 21st, 2025.
Second.
Motion, got a second by Councilwoman Trammell. Any discussions on both of those? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Councilman Braden?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Got 7-0, so moved.
Thank you, Mayor. And the final public hearing is ordinance number 2509 LC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, amending Section 71600, alcoholic beverage dispensing of the Land Development Code, creating an exception to the separation requirement from churches for certain tax-exempt organizations that specifically benefit veterans of the United States Armed Forces, providing for authority, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the Land Development Code, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading, and this ordinance would allow 501c19 organizations that are specifically benefiting the veterans of the United States Armed Forces to be located within the 500-foot separation distance from churches that is currently in the code right now. So it carves out a bit of an exception for them because sometimes they do engage in the sale of alcohol.
Councilmember Braden? Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I'm losing it. All right, if anyone's here from the public to speak on 2509 LC, this is your time to do so. Awesome. Sorry about that. Oh, no. I always blame our seats.
Okay, last time I was here, I didn't have a trick.
There you-
Of course, last time I was here, it was 30 pounds lighter and had a lot more hair. Anyway, Ed Smith, 725 Harbor Boulevard, broker owner, Remax Coastal Properties. Been in business for 30 years here in the city, not as long as Dewey. but yeah, a while. Here to speak on behalf of this, and the reason is the AMVET organization has been here for 40 years in the city. They are a 501c19, which is specifically for the benefit of our U.S. Armed Forces members. It is a members-only social organization, and let's see, the other thing is, and of course, they're very philanthropic. How do you say that, philanthropic? Yeah, thank you. Anyway, they donate to literally dozens of charities around the city, including Destin High School, Shoreline Church, First Baptist Church, on and on and on. Again, their good works and deeds should be allowed to continue in the city, and in order to do that, they're going to have to get a new location, and this is about the only one available. So I hope y'all will consider approving it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else here? All right, seeing none. Oh, thank you. I close the public comments, and Councilman Braden.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make that motion to move the city council approve ordinance 25-02-CC on first reading and bring it back for second reading on April 21st, 2025.
I'll second that.
All right, I got a motion, I got a second. Councilwoman Trammell, was that for the motion? You got anything else?
Well, I was going to make the motion,
Yeah.
but I also, I wanted to make the request that when they come back for second reading, they have a letter from the church that allows them to do that. I know many years ago, I had to have that when we were a restaurant that served alcohol, and that just lets us know that the church close to them is okay with this.
So just for clarification, this ordinance is not specific to any one property. It would apply citywide to any 501c19 organization near any church. There is one in particular that we know is under contract to buy a property, or so I'm told, but this wouldn't be limited to just them.
But I think it's important that we do that for any church. I mean, any alcoholic establishments that are going in that meets this or any other requirement outside of our current ordinances that are asking for an exemption. If the church is okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Do you want to amend the ordinance to create a requirement for approval from the church?
Yes, or the religious, or whatever you want to call it, religious, whatever.
School, preschool, cemetery.
Church or school or whatever. If they're okay with it, I'm okay with it. Because we are adding a modification. This is an exemption, and I have nothing against them having the exemption. I just want to make sure that the church is good with this, and we're not all of a sudden, because there is no representative here from the church. Have we met with anybody from the church?
Wouldn't that have to be with all the churches in the city, citywide?
It would be
In this particular case that they're asking for, there is a church. Yes, that's what I'm asking for.
She needs to make that a motion.
Let me just ask, well, so this is going to be citywide. The only way we could do that is if we always require, we'd have to reword the ordinance, because right now they're exempted from the definition, and they wouldn't even, the whole section would not apply to them. So we would have to create an exception and then require a letter of no objection from any affected church within 500 feet. Or if there's a major development order involved for any particular project, a condition could be put in the major development order. And I don't see anybody from, oh, Noel, do you know anything about this application, or is there even an application yet? Probably not. No, because they haven't purchased the property yet.
Okay, so there's no application?
Not yet. They're under contract to purchase property and probably doing their due diligence.
All right, I'll withdraw it.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, if we were to pass this both readings, what is the process then? Is it just an application that staff level approves and would then approve because
For
the LDC
AMVETs?
changes?
For the application for the new AMVETs?
No, just if this particular ordinance were to pass both readings and
There's a-
then any
So there's,
501c19 were to come to the city and apply, is it a automatic approval based on staff level because it's
so
in the?
they wouldn't be applying for anything under this ordinance. This ordinance, so our code has a requirement that you not have a establishment that is principally engaged in the sale of alcohol within 500 feet of a church, citywide. Now, if someone comes in with an application that violates that, they wouldn't be allowed. 501c19s, if this is passed, will be able to be there regardless with that regard to this code because they'll be exempt from it. What would happen is anybody that comes in with a development application would go through the regular development application process anyway, regardless of this code. So depending on what they're doing, they would need a development order. If it's a major development order, they would come to council. If it's a minor development order, they would go through the minor development order process, which is staff level and usually TRC. So it depends on the specifics of what's being proposed and if it meets the code requirements for a major DO or
Right.
not.
I guess, let me just not do hypotheticals. And if we're not building something, if there's already a structure, it's already within 500 feet, and somebody would like to then come and apply,
But I have the same, I mean, they still need a development order.
do they?
They,
Okay.
yeah, everybody needs a development order for uses in the city.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's going to be major or minor and whether it would come to council without seeing it.
Or it could be a possible change of use or something too, right?
But they still need a development order. I mean, they have to have a development order.
Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, I was going to speak to Sandy's motion that I think we ought to alert the church and give them the opportunity because they probably don't pay attention. I don't think that would change my vote, but we ought not to, I don't want to say hide the ball because we're not hiding the ball, but people have busy lives and they might not know, hey, this, and they probably won't object to it. I mean, heck, their church used to be, you know, right around the corner from my old house. And hopefully they just did a thorough cleaning before they moved into that facility. But we ought to notice them and give them the opportunity to come to the second reading if they want. Because that, to your point, that would be fair in my mind. You know, we changed it, we let you know, because we're going to see, we potentially will see more of this in the future as people redevelop or go to other, I mean, the church went to Nighttown, you know, now so we may have this more often.
Right.
So I would just ask that staff, that somebody reach out to the church and let them know when the second reading is.
Then maybe we should reach out to all the churches that would be affected.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
which is all the churches in the city, so we'll try to do that.
That's fine.
Right. Councilman Dustin?
Yeah, I was also going to address that, Sandy's ad that didn't go in. But Kim, I've read on a number of occasions about the constitutionality of separation of these type of establishments from church, and best I can tell, it's pretty questionable that we even can do that anymore. I know that you can't give a ruling for the Supreme Court, but what's the state of the law right now?
If we have a land use regulation and a reason, a legitimate reason that's non-discriminatory, then we should be able to regulate the land in a non-discriminatory way, which I think we are. I don't think we're discriminating against churches. The code doesn't just apply to one. So I think we're okay. I think our code's enforceable.
Okay.
Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, I'm not too much in favor of Mr. Bagby's idea. That's kind of my questions of what I was asking earlier. If this ordinances were to pass at both readings and nobody was notified beyond what we were legally required to notify, a DO may or may not eventually be applied for. When that DO is applied for, there's public notice given based upon a surrounding area, right?
300 feet.
300 feet. So I don't think it's the city's best interest to pick and choose when we want to start going and giving people heads up about things that are happening. I mean, if we're going to do that, we better start doing it across the board on all of our city business, because I don't think it's right to just, on this particular one, to call churches across the city and give them a heads up. So I don't support that, and I would ask that we don't do it unless you're going to direct the city manager with a motion to do that. Because I don't think that's good practice for us to get involved with right now. Let the process unfold, let the DO situation take care, then the churches will be notified, is my
I'll
thought.
say this too. I mean, there is public notice of this ordinance and there will be twice in the paper for anyone. I don't know that the churches are reading it, but it's out there, and it's also on the city's website. It's not secret, so, I mean, anybody that even is interested would know.
I didn't know they still printed that thing.
It's on the website, too.
Oh, I've seen it on the website. I didn't know they kept printing things. All right, any further discussion?
The motion is?
No, hey, that's a question. Yep, approve as is. First reading. All right, I will call the vote. Councilman Braden?
Yes.
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 All right, ayes have it, so moved, 7-0. All right. Man, we got 15 minutes left, too. We can slow it down. It's nice and slow. All right, Councilman Braden.
The only
Thank
thing
you,
I
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Thanks, Mayor. The only thing I have is for staff. I will not be here for the first meeting in May. I'll be in Africa.
Thank you so much. All right, Councilwoman Trammell.
Nothing tonight?
All right. Councilman Dustin.
To support the people who would like to watch a basketball game, I have nothing tonight.
All right. Councilwoman Abear. Or no, Bagby. I'm sorry. Just
I
start.
just thanks, I appreciate
No,
that.
I know where you're at.
Long-winded.
I just want to congratulate Mr. Dustin and his restaurant on being selected or recognized as the number 4 seafood dive in Southern Living Magazine, this latest issue of Southern Living Magazine, and making our city proud, getting our name out there.
Nice. Councilwoman Abear.
Thanks, Mayor. I have reached out to a couple of folks about this dogs allowed on the beach. I wanted to bring it up because we can't talk about this unless we're all together. And I was hoping that, Sandy, you were saying something earlier today about Henderson Beach, just sort of, because they allow dogs on the beach, right? At like the Hotel Inn?
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I read this and I thought, right now, one of the things that I think, if we want to allow dogs on the Gulf Beach, okay, I'm assuming that's the beach we're talking about at this point, the Henderson Park allows dogs on the beach if you're camping there. And it's very confusing for those that are just partaking of the pavilions or whatever, swimming down there, to wonder why those dogs are on the beach. So maybe it would be an option to have someone reach out to the park and see if they would not agree to allow dogs on that beach for the Gulf.
And with that idea, I figured if we could just, I talked to you, Larry, about what they did in Walton County, and it was like, certain parts of the beaches, and it's county beaches, they're, some of them are city, but they're county. I think this would be the best fix for people if they really want to use the beaches. Can you reach out to the Henderson and find out if we have like our Destin residents that get a sticker and are part of the annual pay for it, if they have a sticker that would entail them to be able to allow their dog on the beach as well? Can you just ask that question, see what they think, and we can cross this bridge on the next meeting, whatever you find out. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just for what it's worth, I spoke with, I think, 4 different people, different individuals on this matter, and they suggested that we allowed them on the beach from a time period, from like 5 to 9 or 6 to 9 or something like that. It was kind of crazy that all 4 of them set a short time period, but that's just what I found out.
Appreciate the insight. All right, Councilman Guile.
I have a quick question for Jeff. Where are we at on that harbor dredging, brother?
We are working right now on getting the engineering support services in place that we'll need to bring that forward. So
Okay.
hopefully we are making progress. We've been talking to a couple of engineering firms to get that support.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, sure. Just bear with me for a minute. Sorry, got a few things since I was missing.
Oh, I do too.
First item is our livery vessel situation. It's one of the items that I think we've talked about for at least 5 years since I've been up here. We had a illegal livery vessel doing a pickup at a city dock on the harbor, and it was reported through our code system. The case was basically immediately closed without anything going on. A few days later, there was another same location, a livery vessel, illegal livery vessel picking up on our city dock. This time the code submission actually included the boat registration numbers, so we have an actual Florida registration numbers of the actual boat picking up illegally. Again, within hours, the case was closed. I know we've talked about this many times up here. Do y'all know of anything that we can do differently or that has been done differently that we should try to do to help the people that are doing it legally? Have y'all heard of anything that I'm missing?
Maybe we should try to get some code enforcement officers.
Like to stay down there?
Well, that was was supposed to have been done several years ago. The council voted on it and it passed, and I spoke with the city manager and they wanted to know what we wanted. And I told them, and then that just went in one ear and out the other. So we had a code compliance officer that would walk the docks, and I was checking emails and it was, yeah, I walked the docks, everything's fine.
Okay.
I mean, that's impossible to walk those docks and not find nothing.
Is it acceptable if a code complaint is turned in with registration numbers that can be a warning? I mean, is that a legal thing? Is that a warning? Or can we notice people for that? If a violation is found and pictures of evidence of a boat being picked up on a city dock,
Of course you can.
can that be immediately like a notice?
If a code enforcement officer deems a violation, it can immediately be a notice as long as they've been warned once at some point.
Do they have to see it in person or can they take a picture as evidence?
Usually they like to see it in person.
So how do we fix that whenever they're picking up within 15 minutes? They pick up illegally and then they're gone. How can we fix that?
Well, if you want to do it through the notice of violation procedure, then they can take input from other people. But if you're asking for an instant citation, they need to see it themselves. Because when we have a notice of violation, then there's due process built in, where there's a hearing and everyone that has something to say can testify. And so someone else that took a picture can testify, yes, I took this, yes, it's accurate. And the special magistrate can ask questions and the respondent can cross-examine.
So then, is it acceptable to expect if a community member submits a code violation through the City of Destin's code complaint system, and they give picture evidence of an illegal operation happening, that our code officers will notice a violation from that? Is that acceptable understanding that our code will do?
It's legally acceptable. I would ask the city manager what his direction is.
Is that something that we're going to be able to start doing?
If it passes legal muster, certainly if it passes legal muster, we'll take whatever
So the
steps we
state-
can.
The state law says if a code enforcement officer in his discretion sees a violation and a warning has been issued at least once, a notice of violation can be issued. Doesn't say, he has to personally see it himself, but he has to reasonably believe there's a violation. So if there are photos that lead them to reasonably believe there's a violation, then they can proceed.
Okay. Did you have something to add to this, Mr. Dustin?
Yeah, Councilman Dustin.
We deal with this all summer down on the bay.
Right.
The only way I've been able to make progress with any of them is go explain to them that if I find them at the dock again, we'll have the sheriff's department issue a no trespass notice, and the next time they come, they'll be arrested. That gets their attention.
But that's at your private property
Well, yeah,
versus our
but
city transient
It
dock.
is, but I don't think the city has an obligation to allow folks who are violating city ordinances to use the city property. So it's a concept that may well work for the city too.
So as a council, are we okay with if evidence is being submitted through our system that shows an illegal boat operator breaking the law? Are we okay to immediately give them a notice of violation?
I think we all are, but.
Huh? So we're okay with immediately submitting a warning then based on that evidence?
Immediately.
We're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm sure we are, but here's the problem.
Sure.
If it is an operator from out of town who doesn't have property in Destin, if it's just simply code enforcement, it gets a little spicy, a little hard to cause them to do anything, because if they don't pay it
Right.
as it goes, I mean, so we turn them over to collection? So
Sure.
I-
I mean, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, the no trespassing,
Something
you
better
can
than
get
nothing.
arrested,
Right.
gets their attention much better.
Councilman Gao?
Can we ask Captain Fulgham if there's some kind of signage we can put on city facilities that would give them the authority? We'll probably have to make a code amendment. I know what he's going to say, but we can ask him anyway.
Tell us what we can do.
Tell us we need a code amendment and a sign.
I wasn't clear on where you're talking about them picking up. You talking about them picking up in a city park?
This is at, right there behind the famous Royal Melbourne part that we were talking about. Yeah, it's a city transient slip.
Yeah, if they are picking up in a city park, we can issue them a trespass warning just with the city telling us that the city wants us to issue them a trespass warning. And all I have to have is enough of a photo that I can identify who it is that's trespassing for me to issue them that warning.
On that
Now, I
note-
mean, if you just send me a picture of a boat with a guy on it and say, I want this guy issued a trespass warning, obviously, there's not a whole lot I can do with it.
Sure.
We have the live feed now at Joe's Bayou, so we can go back. So perhaps if the infrastructure is in place, if we have some cameras at our transit slips, we basically have a 24-hour code mechanism there, not a person, but the ability to capture the data we need to do what we need to do.
Sure. Okay, I think we're all in agreement. It's just, this is something that's been discussed many, many, many times by the people that do the thing the right way, and then we don't do anything with the wrong ones. And case in point, when code cases are being instantly closed, there's a problem there, so I appreciate it.
Kevin, while you're on this, real quick, can we put a sign on our piers that are transient piers that say, no business to be conducted here, or you will be caught as trespassing?
So I think we had
Well, we
signs.
can, and we've had them in the past. We've had huge signs that say no commercial activity,
Tear 'em down.
$500 fines per person. We've had a massive one at Joe's Bayou, like the light up one last year. So we can do signs.
Cool, okay.
I got a couple on here for that.
Oh, sure.
Guile, then Bagby.
So, one of the questions I was going to bring up is sign. Can we count that as the warning, though? Can that be the initial warning?
No.
Even though the sign specifically says it's illegal?
That's not the warning.
God dang it. Public execution. No, I'm not done. We had a former council member bring up something about a harbor master. Can we dedicate one of the code enforcement people or positions as a harbor master so that there's somebody down there full-time keeping an eye on these things?
We need a designated harbor.
You can designate a code enforcement or a code compliance person to be in any part of the
We've
city.
done this and they're not
The
doing
harbor
it.
master confusion is confusion because there's a technical term in the statutes that people are getting confused with. To do what's in the state law with respect to a certain type of harbor master, yes, we would need to make a designation of the harbor and so on. But just to assign a code compliance officer down there is something we can do anytime.
Okay, we
If the
say
city
that.
manager wants to do it.
We say that, but 2 years ago, I spent, 3 weekends down there going and generating reports with pictures, with all the violations, and nothing got done. So we can sit here and claim all day long that we're going to assign a code enforcement down there, but I think unless there's an official title or official position, it's just getting bypassed. It's just getting ignored.
You have a totally different city manager now, so maybe he's interested in doing it.
We're certainly interested in enforcing our codes to the best of our ability, including those on the harbor. And we will have those discussions internally and hopefully come up with a better solution than what's in place today and has been in the past.
Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you put the cameras down there, make sure they're angled where you can get the sign and you can get the registration number. Because a picture, when you say a picture, but you don't show us or share with us the picture, or none of us, other than I assume you saw it, knows what the picture is, it's just like Captain said. I got a picture of a guy on a boat helping people get in a boat on a dock. Okay, well, there's only one of those in Destin, so it's got to be able to be proven that it's our dock, when it was, timestamp, and you got the registration number, and you got the, the for hire sign on it, or we can track it down to where it's a livery that's for hire or whatever. It's not just, and so right now, if it came before us, I probably wouldn't be able to say, yeah, I mean, I think we all conceptually agree we need to fix this. We also need to fix the parking in the right-of-way. We also need to fix the trash and the noise and all this. But if we don't have a photo that actually shows a clear violation, there's not a lot I don't think either the sheriff or our code guys can do.
Okay, thank you. The pause contract, is that coming to us at the next meeting or in May? I understand our pause contract is expiring or expired.
We're waiting on Paws to respond to moving that forward. We'll certainly reach out to them again. They know that we've had conversation with them, and they know that we're not satisfied with what they presented to us, which was a substantial increase.
Right.
And we kind of asked them to come back, and we've not received that, but we'll follow up.
Are we operating currently on an expired contract?
On the existing, yeah, they've agreed to allow it to move month to month
Okay,
until we get a new agreement.
okay. I'd like to make a motion to nominate Aubrey Santucci for the Parks and Rec Committee.
I'll second that.
All right, you got a motion and second. Seeing no discussion, you want to start us off?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
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 All right, 7-0.
I'd like to
Congratulations.
nominate Mr. Ryan Holloway to the Harbor Waterways Board.
All right,
Second.
motion, got a second. Seeing no further discussion, call the vote.
Yes.
Pick a side.
Sorry. I
Yes.
thought we were going
Yes.
Yes.
to start.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
7-0.
Fantastic. Ordinance 54 LC mobile vending, looking over it, talking to different people. Wanted to look at having staff, city manager, and attorney bring back an update. So I'm going to make a motion to update the LDC to allow mobile vending in the right-of-way at the second meeting in May.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry, the motion is to update the LDC to allow mobile vending in the rights-of-way. Currently, it's not allowed in the city.
Okay.
All right, good to go there. Last thing is our vision session strategic summary. I won't bore us all too long, as I know we're all ready to go watch some sort of basketball game. We have these, I think you are familiar with it. The vision session, me personally, I was not too thrilled with some of the things that we did and didn't do there. It is what it is. I'm gonna work on that maybe with Mr. Larry in the future, just some ideas. But what I would like to ask you all, if you are acceptable, is I believe we as a council need to update this. If we want to use this type of method, even if we don't want to use this, I believe that we need to tell Larry and staff what some of our objectives are. Some of us that are new most recently, as well as some of us that have been on here for multiple years. We need to update these because we've accomplished them, which is great. Thankfully, staff and other people have helped us accomplish these. Not only for us, though, but also staff and Larry needs to update their objectives. Again, they've already been accomplished. So what I would like to ask for all of us and for them is that the second meeting in May, since you won't be at the first, is to bring back 2 or 3 items that each of us would like to have a council priority or an objective. And it's my personal opinion that it's okay if it's a long list, because if we're trying to do something in the next 4 years for your term or 5 years or whatever, it should stay on there. I don't think we should vote, that's just my opinion, but I'm asking if you all, at the second meeting in May, and we could put this back under my name if we need to, would bring a list, if you want, of what's an objective for you all, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, to your point, we have 6 of the 13
Finished.
Right.
on the finish line, if not completed.
Okay, well, put that under my name if you want, or you could put it under yours if you want. I'll be the legislative sponsor, but I'd like to definitely look at that.
And then,
Yeah, Jim?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm more than willing to attend a workshop in May to discuss this. I don't want us to spend, an hour in a city council meeting where we make decisions and we add to, the beauty of things like this is we agree on it. These are council decisions or council directions, or
Right.
we approve this, not, Rodney's got his 2 projects, and Sandy's got her 2 projects, and Dewey has 3 projects, and I have a project, and, we just throw them all up there, and there's no priority, there's no order, there's no guidance. It's just like, I told people when I was running that I'm gonna get something paved, or I'm gonna get my favorite one was always the water cover, or the sewer covers on 98. And I swear I listened like every other city council meeting. When are we gonna get that dip on 98 fixed? And it's like, it is a state highway, people,
can't do it.
Yeah, we can't do it. But it's like every other meeting, the city staff was getting hammered about that. I would love for us to come together and say, okay, here's our top 10 projects, and we can put little stickies.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with you, but I guess maybe I'm not stating it clearly. But for me, it wasn't going to be an item for discussion, really, to have a long just talk at that meeting, because I do believe if 7 of us have 2 objectives as individuals who are here for our constituents, which hopefully our individual priorities align with our constituents, I think we can go right down the list and we just have 14 of them. How you prioritize that is the functions of our government and how we work after that. We have a budget process. We have multiple workshops for those budgets. We put funding in the budget for projects that we want to do and that staff wants to do. So my intentions is not to have a discussion on all of these objectives. It's just for each one of us to list it out there. I don't want to have a workshop. We had a vision session. That was our workshop, and we didn't really talk about any of that. So I'm going to do that the second meeting of May. I hope that, I hope we can do something, because it's not fair to staff to have nothing right now, in my opinion. So, but it's all good. Sure. Well, my only concern is I just want to give, is the budget process, honestly. But, I mean, is that?
She won't be here, that's what she said.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, sure, June's fine. 'Cause I think we should all hopefully be here.
Yeah.
I mean, worst case scenario, since we may or may not have a lot of interest in this idea, you can just send them in still, and we would potentially add them in there. But we need to do something rather than just sitting up here talking about the same thing for 5 years and never getting anything done. Or 10 years or 20 years for however long that's been. So thanks a lot, Mr. Mayor.
Right. All right, so I got a new one and an old one. The new one is, this really was something that I was working a lot last year when I was on the EC Rider, which is the county's public transportation board. They did their study, and one of the biggest things that came out of it for our area was this microtransit. A lot of different cities across the state of Florida, I use it all the time, whether it's a downtown Orlando or getting to the beach of any of the beach communities that are fairly similar to ours. And really what kind of sparked this to bring this back from the grave from a year ago was kind of us talking about 2 or 4 parking spots at the beach and how valuable they were, when there's ways to get more families and more people to the places they want to go, beaches and business. And so this whole concept is for an RFP in the Crystal Beach area. It is, if you guys have not used these kind of services, it would be a all-in-one subcontractor. It's a lot like Uber. It's a ride hauling application to where you say you want to ride. I'm at this short-term rental, I'm at this Henderson Beach Resort, and I'm trying to go to the beach, I'm trying to go to Crab Trap or anything, and it is just like that. It's just ridership on demand, and it can integrate either if we would like to take it. I've talked to them, and there's a lot of different advertising opportunities for raising funds. There is businesses paying monthly subscriptions if we want to go that route, so it's a free ride to their businesses. And then as well as TDC and government is the other bucket that can fund this. as well as fares for people riding it if we wanted to do $1 or $2 for the riding fare. So I just really think this is a low-hanging fruit that we could do a very small trial run on. A lot of these businesses do a 12-month window of just try it out and see if it works. I would absolutely recommend that we keep these south of 98, never to cross 98. And it's really just about the locals in the short-term rental guest, whether it's a hotel or a house, getting them from their place to the business or the beach without ever touching a car. Or if they're more than a couple blocks away, they don't have to walk it. So with that, I was just seeing if there was any appetite for us to direct staff to write an RFP to come back to us. In that time, while we're writing it, I was going to reach out to the county. I had a meeting with them today to see if they were interested in either working with us. Do we want it, or do we want to work with them and put it under their EC rider? They would have some skin in the game because having riders on their program allows them to get state dollars. And so having these very micro transit is the same as someone getting on our bus and going to Crestview as a 1-for-1. So we can keep it in-house with this third party. We could work with the county. At the end of the day, I was just hoping to get your guys' support on drafting a RFP so we can at least see on paper what we would be going out for. So any questions or comments?
No, I think it's a great idea, and I'll move to have city manager, have staff draft an RFP for this amazing idea.
And I'll second that. I was going to make the motion too, so good
Appreciate it.
job.
All right, any other questions on that, just so I'm not flying in the dark? Comments, concerns? Awesome. All right, so.
Are we going to ask EC Rider to run this program, or?
So that's what I was kind of hoping to get your guys' direction on. Would we prefer to keep this in-house? Because there is income revenue models where if we do a fair, we split it 50-50 with them and we could make some money. Or do we give it off and make it a free system that the county puts a little bit of skin in the game to make it a free fair? And so I think those are kind of our two, I would say, if we have no money for this that we budgeted this year, we do a fair program, and that way we stay out of it as far as the dollars. Or if the county would like to put some money in, put it under EC riders, they could potentially subsidize that fare, and now it's a free ride.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to let EC Rider do it, because I will tell you, every one of those rental houses comes with a golf cart.
Yeah.
And they don't need to pay somebody to take them to the beach. They all have a golf cart that they ride continuously through
100%.
the neighborhood.
Yeah.
All night long, you know, because it's fun.
Yeah.
And to the beach. And so I'm not interested in spending money or getting money, because I'm not sure that the demand, and I'm pretty sure the demand is not there, to be honest with you.
Okay, because of all the LSVs?
Yeah, because of the availability of LSV. So I would say do it through EC Rider, and if it's profitable, great for them. Then they get more ridership.
Yep.
And they get their numbers up.
Okay, so with that, any other discussions?
I agree with Mr. Bagby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All right, so I'll call the vote.
Yes. You gotta talk.
Oh, all right, Kevin?
Yes.
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 All right, thank you on that. 7-0, so moved.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask for clarity on exactly what you're asking?
Okay, so yeah, with that direction, I would say, let me know if I'm wrong here. Draft an RFP in conjunction with EC Rider at the county. So basically, I'm assuming whether hand it off to them or an interlocal agreement, so we have a little bit of skin in the game of the operations of the do's and don'ts, probably timing and everything. But I'm assuming an RFP for interlocal with the county for a microtransit unit.
Okay, so we're not going out onto the market looking for someone to provide a service on
No,
behalf
no,
of
I
the city.
think let's-
So we will work with the county to see if there's a cooperative effort that works.
And if so,
Does that-
we have the motion
that sound
to
clear?
draft an RFP.
Okay.
Okay. All right, cool.
Cool.
All right. And then the second one, so I just want to bring this back up. I just kind of want to shoot another bite at the apple here. I don't think where we left off last time is as accurate as we left it, as far as the incidences versus the fatality and the severity of these crashes. As we saw from Kimberly Horn, the majority of them are happening over at Stallman, but they're fender benders. And the more I reach out and talk to people about this intersection over here by Rooms to Go, there's been a lot of people that have either first-person testimony or have watched it. And so I'm just pleading with you guys again to see if there's any appetite. FDOT's going to be repaving Danny Werfel Way in late fall, and they reached out to me independently with their studies asking if we had a resolution of support to add on this closing of this lane or the modification of this lane altogether. Anything we do, it would come to a public workshop, so FDOT would create a workshop, and then all of our input would be there as to that final, completely take it out or modify that median. I think it's very in parallel with everything in 98 that they have recommended going on as well. Yes.
I agree with you, Mayor, and I thought that when this came up, TDOT was, that FDOT was talking about several different bays being closed off, and I thought that we were looking at when they were going to help sort of structure 98, and I was waiting for that to come back to us. I don't think any of us disagree that we should do something about that crossing. In fact, if they're going to do one sooner rather than later, I would venture to guess everybody here would like to see that one completely closed off, that you cannot just shoot across there. Any input, everybody else?
Yeah, to that, so that is once we failed the feasibility for the 6 lane for the West Destin corridor of 98, we're basically down to the alternative 4 lane, which I think there's like 45 or 47 non-intersection or intersections that aren't signalized that they recommend closing. And it's really about stopping the left hand out is the main problem of safety and concern and traffic flow. So yes, and this could be a side cart to start now, later on. And I'm going to be talking to Director Tim Smith tomorrow to see with the TPO and the priority that we're in for the 98 CIS network, can we push this forward with Stallman and everything else going on? So Councilman Bagby, any words of wisdom?
Yeah, so I did talk to Tim last week briefly while he was on his vacation. But he was good enough. He probably thought it was something else I was calling about. And then I've also talked with John Whittington and Ryan Adams from FDOT. And a couple of, well, first of all, I want to get some facts established because I know there's been a lot of concern in the media and in the community. So I'm going to ask Jason, had this been installed 2 weeks ago before the accident, would anything have changed in that accident?
That accident was speed related, so it had.
So I just wanted to put that because there's a lot of people, oh, y'all should have done this, this would have saved a life. It would not have saved a life.
I agree, yeah,
Okay.
100%.
And so, well, yeah, I know you know, but a lot of folks are very emotional about this. There were a couple of options, and the county, Scott Bitterman, was reviewing the R2 project, which is the resurfacing up Danny Werfel to the bridge. And so he knew that this, because I asked him, you know, this is the 10th most dangerous, at least the sheriff's office tells us, this is the 10th most dangerous intersection in the city. How do we pick the 10th? And he said, well, it's in the project, and the project the contract's already been let. Project's probably going to start in late August, early September. If we make this part of the project, it can be incorporated as a change order, and the state will pick up the 100,000. If we don't get, and the reason I tell you that, well, I'll tell you that in a second. If we don't incorporate it in the resurfacing project, it won't get done because it is about a $100,000 project. It's a standalone on a state highway, and FDOT's not going to mobilize everybody that would be required to do anything to that intersection absent it not being a, $1 million project that they're already working on, incorporated it in. What they all tell me is we need a proclamation from the city, and it would really help if we got a proclamation from the county. So I said, okay, well, that's good. They need it now because as y'all, most of you understand, there's a 30-day notice because they have to have a public hearing. So you got to give a 30-day notice. Then you got to have the public hearing, or the public meeting, not a hearing, public meeting. Then you get an answer period, which is 30 days also, which puts us into somewhere into probably June, July, first week of July on a contract that's already been let that they then have to negotiate a change order to do something. Having said all that, I will make a motion that we direct staff to draft that proclamation to close that intersection.
Nice.
Okay?
I'll second that.
And that we empower the mayor to sign that proclamation and send it to the county, and that we reach out to Scott. I already talked to Scott today and said, hey, can you start drafting up the proclamation for the county? And Larry and I are having lunch with Drew Palmer on Wednesday. And so we will ask our county commissioner to get that approved and by the county and get it to FDOT as soon as possible.
Awesome. All right, got a motion and a second. Councilman
Mr.
Destin?
Bagby,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
right.
do you mean proclamation or resolution?
Resolution. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry, resolution.
All right, Councilman Destin?
Yeah, and we're all in favor of doing whatever we can to make those intersections safer. Simple solution would be right turn only. Close it to left turns. And I was going to reiterate the fact that Regions Way on the south side is a municipal street, on the north side is a county street, so we do need to coordinate with them.
Yep.
And, I'll vote for the resolution because we do want to do whatever we can to make it safer.
Awesome, thank you for that. And my main point was Ryan as well, and they have the, I'm going to call it land agreement from the north side of all those people, so everything's ready there. We were just the last ones to it. All right, so I won't muddy that up. I got the motion and second. I will call the vote. Councilman Schmidt?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
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 All right, 6-1, so moved. Thank you for that. And then my last little caveat to that is, with everyone up here, is that something that we would like to make a stance on? And I'm not really going to ask for anything, just more food for thought as we leave, to move forward with some version of that 4-lane alternative feasibility from FDOT for 98 when it comes to closing other lanes like this. We're getting a little bit more into business territory over on the west side of town, but just food for thought as we move forward to try to create safety and traffic calming with traffic congestion relief. How do we feel about using this as a method for multiple others moving forward? I don't want to speak on behalf of the council, even when I'm just talking to Tim and all them, but just kind of curious where we're all at. So Councilman Braden?
Yeah, I'd love to see them do something with that turn lane going on to Airport Road. If they can put those white bollards or something, so once you're in that lane, you've got to stay in the lane. Because they dart through the intersection, stopping traffic who wants to turn right. So Sheriff's Department make plenty of money down there writing tickets for people darting out of that turn lane.
I would love to see the city do something with requesting those on that lane. I've asked FDOT myself several times for those
Is that a motion,
delineators.
Councilman
and
Braden?
Haven't been.
Yeah, I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that?
I'm trying, but
Yeah, I got you. Councilman Bagby, then Destin. Oh, you want to, you still, sorry.
Yeah, my comment's not on his motion because I'll support that motion.
Okay.
But I had some other stuff to.
Okay. Anything else on that motion? Yes, sir.
his motion, if I'm correct, is to do something about the right turn on the airport. Is that it?
Correct. Is that I'm going to make up the word. The billers,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's a
Fort Walton
terrible
did.
problem, so I don't have any issue with that. But as far as closing other,
Days.
that's going to get very, very complicated in the west end of town. And a simpler solution that everybody probably would go along with is right turns only out of
Yeah.
those intersections. That's going to be a compromise that'll stop most of it.
Block
And you
most,
won't
okay.
get the hell we're going to get raised about trying to close them.
For sure, and that's kind of where I wanted to figure out where the temperament was, and, okay, right turn only is kind of where we're feeling, Councilman Bagby? Anything else moving forward?
Well, yeah, my issue was down by the harbor. We're going to get
Yeah, that's-
NIMBYism out the wazoo, and I think, when you picture what that area between the bridge and, say, Benning is going to look like in 5 years, everything will be undergrounded. Hopefully, we'll get the signs under control. Hopefully, the billboards will be gone. But the most dangerous thing we're going to have is people doing, if we start closing a bunch of them, people doing those U-turns to try to go back to, heck, when I go to Dewey's, I have to do a U-turn, and I'm like, I got cars coming out from across me. I got a couple of lanes of traffic coming down this way, and some of those people are flying, and it's like, but they're on my wife's side, so it's okay, It's, I got insurance on her, so no. Go ahead.
One other comment, and the beauty of those roads are they're completely within the city. We had a terrible intersection at Calhoun because people were going out and going left. We fixed that ourselves, but DOT, of course, has to say, yes, we're going to go along, but we fixed the no left turns out of that ourselves. And we, to the best of my knowledge, have not had a accident, somebody trying to go left, because you're not allowed ever since. So that's a solution that at least we can do that in the short term.
Councilman Gile?
I just want clarity on what Councilman Braden's asking for again. So you're saying on Highway 98, the right turn into Airport Road?
Yep.
You want to put up those little white,
That lane, they dart back out of it.
right?
So if you've got those white.
Forces them onto
yeah.
airport versus
I'm just,
cutting back in.
these jackasses cut across 3 lanes of traffic because they missed a turn. See, I don't know, I can just imagine what kind of nightmare that's going to generate, but if the council feels like that's okay, or that's what you want, I'll
We
support
can
it.
put up ballards, we can put up piano wire, what are we gonna put up?
Piano wire.
I'm all about the piano. Little landmines.
They put a concrete barrier that's about that tall, so you can't cut across. They did that in Fort Walton and fixed the problem.
It did, yes, that's right.
I think also Officer Fulgham said something about getting more notice about that right lane coming up ahead of time.
Yeah, even at the next intersection, that's the
Yes,
newer
yes.
intersection, saying it's closing much sooner.
So I would like.
When
Mr.
I
Braden
asked
to-
for,
So
the lane delineators, that's what they did, went back
on
even
motion.
farther with more notice, farther back. They've already done that.
Westbound on 98, Counselor Trammell, there's a sign at 1,000, 800, 400, and 200 feet.
Oh, I know it's there because
We look for it.
one of your neighbors asked me to get that, and we added a sign, and they still do it. You could put it a mile out and say,
Still jump on.
this lane is right turn only, a mile from here, and you're gonna have people 50 yards from there jumping back into the lane because they think.
And just one other thing, Counselor Bagby, I just want to remind the council that when you engage that right turn lane, the area between the right turn lane and the through lane is the bike lane.
Oh, yeah. Great FDOT technology there.
One more caveat is, because we have talked about this multiple times in the past couple of years, you can legally be in that right lane. This is what you told me, I think, previously. Until it's two lines, you can still legally go back over to the other lane. So putting ballards isn't going to necessarily fix the problem.
No, but I think
Just
one
keep
of
that
the-
in mind, that we've tried these solutions.
I think what hopefully it comes out of it is you get people who will stop in that lane and not turn right, but wait for someone to allow them. Yeah, so,
Well-
to your point, you can't fix stupid, but.
I know.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is you're going downhill and you're making a right-hand curve, so you don't see that until you get on it. If they had changed, and I told FDOT this before they put that road in, if they had started that lane at the stoplight of Restaurant Row and City Hall there, started it there, they're on a hill, you can actually see now that this is going down. So I don't know what we can do.
All right, appreciate it. Councilman Galley, anything else?
Maybe a digital billboard right there that says,
Okay. City Attorney.
Quick things.
Yes, thank you, G.
motion.
We have a motion, yes. Call the
What about
question.
the
Thank you,
ball?
sir. Councilman Braden, start us off.
Yes.
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 All right, thank you. Ayes have it, so moved, 7-0.
So, a couple meetings back, you all had asked us to check with the city's insurance carrier to see if they would pay half of our costs in filing the appeal in the Destin Fishing Fleet, City of Destin Bird Harris litigation, where we're trying to recoup our attorney's fees, and the insurance company did agree to pay half. So that was one good announcement. And then the other one is looking for a legislative sponsor, possibly to do an LDC amendment where we currently have a 10-foot rear setback in HDR, and we are looking to reduce it to 5 feet in HDR by townhomes only. And it's coming from a history many years ago before the current staff. I don't want anyone to think it was the current staff. But there were permits issued for people that have things like decks and encroachments into the 10-foot setback. And now we have others coming in for permits wanting to do the same thing, and they're getting denied, and they're looking at all their neighbors saying, why did they get to do it? And hey, the city issued that permit in error. So we thought one fair way to address it for everybody equally would be to give everybody a 5-foot instead of 10-foot setback. In talking with planning, there was no public safety or other issue, so.
I'll make that, I'll be that sponsor to create that
Okay,
change.
thank you. Then we'll bring it to you in first reading as soon as it's ready.
Awesome. All right, public comments. Anyone here? Yes, sir, Will.
Make it quick.
There's a ball game going on. What's the score? 16-13. For who? Houston. Oh, shoot. Come on, Florida. Come on, Florida.
Will Ellison, 744 Kelly Street. So, talking about, I have a few things to talk about. One, regarding what Kevin said about the people on the docks and the illegal businesses there. Whenever I was code compliance, I had trespassing issues, trespassing issue to people. So we did it in the past. I don't see why we can't do it in the future. Two, the stop sign at Kelly and Spring Lake doesn't work. If y'all need to do another speed test or whatever, maybe some speed tables. I live right there, nonstop. They hang off Main Street, hit it like Vin Diesel, quarter mile at a time. It's terrible. Wakes up my kid all the time. All the neighbors are mad too. Third thing, Mr. Schmidt, can you reiterate what you were proposing with the mobile vending?
Didn't get a second, so it's not gone anywhere.
Okay, because we couldn't really hear what was going on. We didn't understand the council's response. We couldn't hear anything in the back.
Well, he made a,
There's only one business that's able to have mobile vending in the right-of-way in the city of Destin. So the proposal was to have the option to have mobile vending in the right-of-way in the city of Destin. Currently, you cannot.
Cool. All right.
Nobody wants to.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comments? All right, seeing none, I will call this meeting adjourned.